Legarda Santos for Mr. Max Sullivan, Tony Roses, Godofredo Manzano, and Ricky Agkawili.
Are all the accused present in court this morning?
Luis Beltran is sitting beside me, Your Honor.
All right. How about Mr. Sullivan?
Mr. Sullivan, Roses, Agkawili, and Manzanas are here also today, Your Honor.
Nobody is absent?
No one's absent, Your Honor.
All right. Very well. Will the prosecution now call its next witness? This is a continuation of the evidence of the people. Next witness for the prosecution.
Our next witness, if Your Honor, please, is Mrs. our President, Cory Aquino.
Excuse me,
The
Your Honor.
private complainant in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
May we know, Your Honor, if this is going to be the last witness for the prosecution?
She will be the last witness.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Very well. Will you please call the witness to the witness stand?
Tayo rin eh. Tayo.
Please remain standing.
So, swear the witness.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth before this honorable court?
Yes, I do.
So God.
Please take your seat. Take her personal circumstances.
I'm the President of the Republic of the Philippines. I live on Arlegui Street. I'm sorry, there is no number. This is the Arlegui Guest House. It is on Arlegui Street, San Miguel, Manila. I can state my former residence, if you like. 25 Times Street, Quezon City. Quezon City.
If Your Honor, please.
The witness is Mrs. Corazon Cojuanco Aquino, 58 years old, a widow, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, and residing at Arlegui Guest House, Arlegui, Manila.
If Your Honor, please, permission is requested to allow the private prosecutor, Attorney Cristino Carrion, to conduct the direct examination of the witness under our supervision and control.
Granted. For what purpose are you offering the testimony of this witness?
If Your Honor, please, in line with Section 35 of Rule 132 of the revised rules of evidence, the prosecution formally offers in evidence the testimony of President Cory Aquino for the purpose of substantiating her charge of libel against the accused, particularly to show that the statement in Exhibit G1, more particularly that portion thereof caught during the August 28 coup attempt, she hid under the bed while the firing was going on, unquote, is a deliberate falsehood. Also to show that she was greatly humiliated, embarrassed, and hurt by said statement, and to show that she immediately took steps to protect her image, reputation, and integrity, particularly as President of the Philippines and as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and to project the truth, Your Honor.
All right. May we inquire from the witness in what language does she intend to testify?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
In what language do you intend to testify? English, Tagalog?
Probably in both, Your Honor.
No, I can allow you only
All right.
in one language because our interpreter might be misled, or you may quote him inattentive if you will just testify in English. Please do so in
Yes,
English.
in English, Your Honor.
English. Thank you. All right. Your witness.
May I proceed, Your Honor? Mrs. President, you say that you are the President of the Philippines. May we know when you took your oath of office as President?
I took my oath of office as President on February 25, 1986.
And you also mentioned that you are residing at the Arlegui Guest House located at Arlegui Street, Manila. Since when have you started living in that place, Mrs. President?
I have resided in the Arlegui Guest House since June 8, 1986.
Continuously up to the present?
Yes, sir, continuously up to the present.
And where do you hold office, Mrs. President?
I hold office at the Premier Guest House, which is located in the Malacanang compound.
Now, Mrs. President, do you recall at about 7:30 in the morning of October 12, 1987, where you were?
Yes, I was in my bedroom in the Arlegui Guest House.
Do you recall what you were doing then?
Yes, I was reading the newspaper, in particular the Philippine Star, and I was reading the column of Mr. Luis Beltran, Straight from the Shoulder.
And as you were reading that column of Mr. Beltran, was there anything unusual in that column that caught your attention?
Yes, I was really shocked to read a particular portion of that column which said that I hid under the bed during the night of the coup attempt of August 28, 1987.
If that issue of the Philippine Star dated October 12, 1987 is shown to you, Mrs. President, would you be able to recognize it?
We will admit identification.
Okay. Thank you. 1987, which has been marked as Exhibit G for the whole issue, and then for the column with sub-markings thereof. Will you please go over this column and tell this honorable court what portion thereof caught your attention? Please read it.
Sir, may I be allowed to read
Please
it?
read it.
If you will recall, during the August 28 coup attempt, the President hid under her bed while the firing was going on. Perhaps the first Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to have to do so.
And if Your Honor, please, for the record, the portion read by the witness is started with mark as Exhibit G-1.
All right, the court notes.
And while you were reading this statement, Mrs. Witness, how did you feel?
Well, I was very angry. I was very angry because this was a blatant lie.
Why do you say that it's a blatant lie?
Well, because I did not hide under the bed. And I want this court to know that I had never any intentions of hiding under the bed. And besides, it is physically impossible to hide under the bed.
Why do you say, Mrs. President, that it was physically impossible to hide under your bed?
Well, the bed that I use is a platform bed, and the platform is directly on top of the rug. There is no space between the platform bed and the rug.
And going back to that coup attempt of August 28, 1987, Mrs. President, do you recall what action you have taken at that time?
Well, on August 28, 1987, I was awakened by firing. And so when the firing started, I immediately called for my aides, notably Colonel Gasmin, who is the head of the Presidential Security Group.
Colonel Gasmin. Sige po, sabihin nila.
After that, I called up some members of the cabinet, and I told them that I wanted to call for a meeting of some of the members of the cabinet. I also called up General Ramos.
And with respect to this question, the statement which you have already read, Mrs. President, marked as Exhibit G1, how did you feel after reading it?
Well, as I said...
Your Honor, please.
I think that question has already been answered. The President said that he was angry.
When you read this Exhibit G1, what action did you take?
Well, after I read it, I went to the Premier Guest House, and I showed it to the people who work in the guest house. I also showed it to my daughter, Maria Elena Aquino Cruz, and I also called for Catalino Macaraig Jr., who was then the Executive Secretary.
Now, I invite your attention, Mr. President, to Exhibit G1. What portion therein caught your attention very much?
Your Honor, I think the President read the alleged libelous portion, and in fact, she said that is what the one that caught her reaction. I think the record will show that was one of the first questions asked by compañero.
Attorney Cayetano has the floor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please do not talk at the same time because everything is being recorded by the stenographers now, one by one. All right, continue.
Well, I'm objecting to the question because it has already been asked and answered.
No, Your Honor, I'm referring now to a particular portion of the statement already marked as Exhibit G1.
We will allow the question.
Well, there is this particular portion here, if you will recall. So when I read it, it appeared to me as if it were conveying that that I hid under the bed and that this is already an established fact. So that phrase, if you will recall, really upset me very much.
And what was your impression, the whole impression that that you had with respect to this Exhibit G1?
Well, I felt that there was such a reckless disregard for the truth. Because, as I said, the phrase, if you will recall, purports that it is already an established fact. And then, not once was I ever asked by Mr. Beltran whether it was true that I did hide under the bed or not.
What other issue, if any, prompted you, Mrs. President, to file this instant action?
Well, first of all, this was a lie, and I did not want this lie to be disseminated. And secondly, since I am Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, I did not want any officer or any enlisted man or woman to be reading this or to be hearing it from other sources, because my credibility as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines certainly would greatly suffer because of this lie.
And after you have read this statement, Mrs. President, what action did you take?
Well,
Objection, Your Honor. Already answered.
What other action, if any, was taken?
Okay, that's better.
That's better. Thank you.
well, I went to the Premier Guest House. I showed this particular column specifically to my daughter, Maria Elena Aquino Cruz, and to the then Executive Secretary, Catalino Macaraig Jr. I pointed out the specific portion which I felt really was damaging or seriously hurting my credibility.
And after Secretary Macaraig assumed the paper, and you told him about what you said now, what did Secretary Macaraig do?
Objection, no basis, Your Honor.
Did anything?
The question has no basis.
Well,
All right, what do you say, Mr. Private Prosecutor?
well, if Your Honor, please, the President talked with Secretary Macaraig about the case, and so my question is, did Secretary Macaraig take any action on this matter?
All right. May answer.
Well, I asked Secretary Macaraig if it would be possible for me to file a complaint for libel against Mr. Luis Beltran. And then I asked him also to accompany me back to the Arlegui Guest House, and I also asked the other people present, and in particular some members of the Malacanang media, and also the official photographer of Malacanang, Mr. Val Rodriguez, to accompany me to the guest house because I wanted to show them my bedroom and the bed, which was the subject of this particular article.
And after you told Secretary Macaraig about your desire, what happened next?
Well, then all of us went to the Arlegui Guest House. As I said, I was accompanied by the people that I had invited, mainly Secretary Macaraig, my daughter, Maria Elena Aquino Cruz, some members of the Malacanang media, and my photographer, Val Rodriguez. So I brought them all up to my bedroom, which is located on the second floor of the Arlegui Guest House.
And were you able to reach your bedroom, Mrs. President?
Yes, of course. Then when I was inside the bedroom and I was next to my bed, I lifted the bedspread in order to show them the physical impossibility of hiding under my bed. I also removed the bedspread of the bed of my daughter Viel.
Now, in the process, Mrs. President, that you were raising the bedspread of your bed and that of your daughter Viel, what were some of the people there doing, if they were doing anything?
Well, Val Rodriguez and other photographers were taking pictures of the said bed.
And,
just a moment, just a moment. Please, just a moment. Mrs. Witness, when you are addressing your counsel, please address him with sir, no? Because he is an officer of the court, a partner of this court in the administration of justice, and therefore should be given the rightful respect.
Yes, Your Honor. I meant no disrespect.
It's
yes,
all right.
sir.
It's all right. Continue.
And were you able to see some of these pictures, Mrs. President?
Yes, sir. I was able to see some of these pictures.
If you are shown some of these pictures, would you be able to recognize them, Mrs. President?
Yes, sir. I will be able to recognize these pictures if I am shown them.
I am showing to you, Mrs. President, 3 pictures already marked as Exhibits D, E, and F. And will you please tell this honorable court what relation have these pictures with the pictures taken in your bedroom in the morning of October 12, 1987?
Well, these are the pictures that were taken precisely that day and which are marked as Exhibits D2, Exhibit E2, and Exhibit F1 and F2.
Now, Mrs. President, I invite your attention to a lady marked in Exhibit D and herein marked as Exhibit D1. Will you please tell the honorable court who is that lady?
Well, the lady pictured here is I, sir.
And there appears a bed here wherein the bed sheet is raised and the bed has been marked as Exhibit D-2. Whose bed is that, Mrs. President?
This is my bed, sir.
I invite your attention to another picture, the picture marked as Exhibit E. And particularly, again, there is a lady in this picture marked as Exhibit E-1. Would you please tell the honorable court who is this lady?
The lady is I, sir.
And there is a bed marked as Exhibit E-2, the cover sheet of which is being raised in this picture. Whose bed is this, Mrs. President?
This bed was used that night by my daughter, Viel. Sir.
Yeah. And again, I invite your attention to Exhibit F. There is a bed marked as Exhibit F-1. Whose picture is that? Whose bed is that, Mrs. President?
Well, this bed marked Exhibit F-1 is my bed, sir.
And about the bed marked as Exhibit F-2?
The bed marked Exhibit F-2 is the bed used by my daughter, Viel, sir.
Now, with respect to this bed that you were used, that appear here in these pictures, since when have you been using that bed?
Well, I have been using that bed since the first day that I transferred to the Arlegui Guest House, and this was on June 8, 1986, sir.
Continuously up to the present, Mrs. President?
Yes, sir, except for maybe 2 or 3 days when I went to a beach and I naturally used some other bed.
Now, Mrs. President, after these pictures were taken in your bedroom in the morning of October 12, 1987, what did you do next, if you did anything?
Well, I went back to the Premier Guest House, and then I again talked with the then Executive Secretary, Catalino Macaray Jr. I asked him how I would go about filing a complaint for libel against Mr. Luis Beltran.
And what did he tell you, if he told you anything?
Well, Catalino Macaraig Jr. informed me that I have to go to the fiscal's office to file the complaint there, sir.
What else did he tell you, if anything more?
Well, he told me that it was necessary for me to get my own lawyer, and so I decided and I instructed my daughter, Maria Elena Aquino Cruz, to call up Attorney Daquila Castro so that I could confirm with him.
And were you able to compare with Attorney Daquila Castro, Mrs. President?
Yes, sir. He came soon after we had called him, and I conferred with him, and I asked him whatever papers are necessary for him to prepare so that we could file the complaint that very afternoon, sir.
I see. And now, between 3 o'clock and between 3 and 4 in the afternoon of October 12, 87, excuse me, do you know where you were?
Yes, on October 12, 1987, between 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I went to the fiscal's office in Manila and I filed my affidavit of complaint against Mr. Luis Beltran.
And you mentioned about filing an affidavit of complaint at the fiscal's office. If you see that affidavit of complaint, Mrs. Witness, will you be able to recognize it?
Yes, sir, I will be able to recognize it if I am given a copy of that certificate of affidavit of complaint.
I am showing to you, Mrs. President, an affidavit of complaint already marked here as Exhibit B during the pre-trial. And will you please go over this affidavit complaint, Exhibit B, and tell this honorable court what relation is that with that which you filed in the fiscal's office?
Sir, this is the affidavit of complaint that I filed on the 12th day of October 1987.
And that appears, Mrs. President, above the typewritten name Corazon C. Aquino on page 2, a signature. Whose signature is that?
That is my signature, sir.
Likewise, there appears a signature above the typewritten name Luis Victor, City Fiscal. Do you know whose signature is that?
Yes, it is the signature of the city fiscal.
Why do you know that that is the signature of the city fiscal then?
Well, when I signed my affidavit, I also saw him signing that particular affidavit of complaint.
Now, Mrs. Witness, in your affidavit of complaint marked as Exhibit B, there is stated here a Xerox copy of said column containing the said passage underlined is here to attach as Annex A. And I show to you Annex A attached to your affidavit of complaint. What relation is this with that one which you attach with the affidavit filed with the fiscal's office?
Well, this is the very article that we are referring to, the column of Mr. Luis Beltran of October 12, 1987, where it stated that I hid under my bed.
In this connection, if Your Honor, please, the records will show that during the pre-trial on February 22, 1990, appearing on page 16 thereof, Attorney Castro requested for the marking of this Xerox copy. Apparently, maybe due to inadvertence, the marking was not placed. So may I request, if Your Honor, please, that it be marked now.
All right. Make the marking.
Exhibit A. Exhibit A. A. Yun ang marking ng pre-trial. Exhibit A.
Yun na nga. It's not that copy, it's not mine.
Now, aside from this affidavit of complaint, marked as Exhibit A, did you submit any other paper in connection with this complaint of yours, Mrs. President?
Well, Secretary Catalino Macaraig Jr. also filed an affidavit at that time.
If you see a copy of that affidavit filed by former Executive Secretary Macaraig. Would you be able to recognize it?
Yes, sir.
I'm showing to you, Mrs. President, an affidavit already marked as Exhibit C during the pre-trial. Will you please go over this paper and tell the Honorable Court what relation has that with the affidavit submitted by former Executive Secretary Macaraig?
Well, this is the affidavit that Secretary Catalino Macaraig Jr. filed on October 12, 1987, sir.
And that appears above the typewritten name kay Catalino Macaraig on page 1. Mrs. President, whose signature is this?
This is the signature of Catalino Macaraig Jr., sir.
And I invite your attention to page 2 of Exhibit C. And there is a signature above the typewritten name Luis L. Victor, City Fiscal. Whose signature is this?
This is the signature of the city fiscal then, and I also witnessed his signing this particular affidavit.
It is noticed, Mrs. President, that this complaint was filed by you in the afternoon of October 12, 1987, although you read it only in the morning, of course, of the issue of October 12, 1987. Do you have any particular reason why you have to hurry filing of the case?
Well, I think everybody knows that we had just gone through a very serious and bloody coup attempt on August 28, 1987, and the situation there was pretty dangerous. So it was important for me to tell everybody that, and especially the officers and men of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, that such a statement is a blatant lie, and that they are not, I wanted to show that I never hid under the bed, sir.
What did this question, the statement, impress you about? What was the impression given to you?
Well, it gave
Your Honor, objection, Your Honor. The question asked for an opinion.
No, Your Honor, impression, I'm not asking what is your opinion. Impression is different from opinion.
Impression about what?
About this, what was your impression?
The witness already said that she read it, she was angry, and that's why she filed the case.
Your Honor, please, that wasn't my question. How did she feel?
All right, may I answer?
Well, this particular statement gave the impression that the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines is a coward.
Now, Mrs. President, under your present oath, do you affirm the truth and correctness of your affidavit marked as Exhibit B?
Yes, sir.
It is noticed also, Mrs. President, that you are asking for some damages. How much moral damages are you asking for?
I am asking for 2 million pesos in moral damages, sir.
How about another damage? What kind of damage are you asking for?
I am asking for another 2 million pesos in exemplary damages, sir.
And if and when you are awarded, Mrs. President, these damages, what do you intend to do with them?
Well, in case I should be awarded these monetary damages, then I will donate all of it to charity.
Mrs. President, although in the waiver of appearance, accused Mr. Luis Beltran stated that they are admitting the identity of Mr. Beltran every time his name is mentioned. Will you please look around and tell the Honorable Court if Mr. Luis Beltran is in the courtroom?
We will make the same admission.
Okay, right. Now, with respect,
we will make the same admission that the witness can identify Mr. Luis Beltran.
now,
If she is made to identify, she will identify the defendant, Luis Beltran.
who is sitting on my left side.
All right, very well.
well, I was about to proceed identifying the other witnesses, the other accused, Your Honor, but considering that during the pre-trial, the respective positions and identities of the co-accused are admitted, I will not go to that extent. And
that is
with
your
that, Your Honor,
prerogative.
please, that will be all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Cross, who will start?
I will start the cross-examination
All
of
right.
Your Honor.
Attorney Cornell.
May I please interrupt?
Yes.
The distinguished counsel said he will start the cross-examination. I think it's our understanding that Dean Coronel, a good friend of mine, will start and finish the cross-examination. I think that was our understanding. Your
Perhaps we shall cross that bridge when we come to it.
No, but that was already admitted
All
before.
right. When I said who will start, because there are two sets of defendants in this case. No? So the cross-examination will be started by the counsels for Mr. Beltran, followed by the counsels for Mr. Sullivan and his companions.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, there is a question by the private prosecutor. You will start and finish your cross-examination this morning. Why do you say that you will come to that when you cross the bridge?
Because there might be some matters that might develop, which is presently beyond the courts and our ability to predict.
All right. For example?
For example, I may become too sick in the course of my cross-examination and somebody has to continue. So I do not want to foreclose that possibility.
Your Honor, please, his counsel hinting now that he may suddenly get sick in the course of his cross-examination. And maybe we know now from him whether he is physically able to conduct the
I
cross-examination.
just answered the court's question.
All right. Do you feel you can finish your cross-examination this morning?
I feel I could, Your Honor, as of now.
All right. Under established jurisprudence, only one counsel will be allowed to cross-examine this witness for accused Beltran. So since there are two counsels, you may as well decide now who will start and conclude the cross-examination of this witness.
Your Honor, please. I know that Compañero Carrion has in mind in trying to exclude this representation from propounding some cross-examination questions. Mr. Dean Coronel has categorically stated that he would start the cross-examination. Your Honor, please, I think no less than the President herself said that she is interested in the truth. Yes. And consequently, I think we cannot apply, if any, and there is none in the rules of court, that only one out of two counsels can cross-examine an adverse party.
I did not
but
say.
In any event, Your Honor, I beg to say that we will try as much as possible to allow my co-counsel to finish the cross-examination. When the time comes, however, Your Honor, this representation will stand up and argue his case on the right to cross-examine.
And we reserve the right to make the proper manifestation or opposition at that time.
Now, I do not want to tax the health of any one of you. No? That is why I want to be sure that when you cross-examine this witness or any one of the two counsels, they are physically fit to do so.
I cited that only as an example of how it may happen that two counsels may be allowed to cross-examine.
No, because
I am, of course, physically fit as of now,
right.
but in this world, only death and taxes are certain.
All right, Cross, you may start.
With the court's permission.
Proceed.
And with your forbearance, Madam. Madam, in those days, before, during, and after the August 28, 1987 coup, were you a regular reader of Mr. Beltran's Straight from the Shoulder column, then being published in the Daily Star?
Before August 28, 1987, you could say that I was a regular reader of the column of Mr. Luis Beltran in the Philippine Star.
How about
Just a moment,
after?
just a moment. The same admonition to the witness that she must answer counsels with sir.
I really don't
Yes,
mind
all right,
this.
Well,
I really don't mind this business, Your Honor.
Yes, that's
I prefer.
right. But the court minds so to preserve the dignity of its proceedings.
On the other hand, I would prefer that the witness be allowed to testify as freely and naturally as possible. She's not used to saying sir to anyone. And this will probably unload.
May I cut you? She comes here as a witness.
I know, Your Honor.
She must abide by the rules.
But I
All right,
don't
that
want-
is my ruling.
I don't want her further burdened by having to punctuate every
All right.
sentence with sir.
All
To
right.
me, that is not necessary.
Proceed.
Your Honor, may I ask you something, please? Would you like me to say sir for every sentence, Your Honor?
That's right.
Precisely, Your
All right, Your Honor, I will do that.
All right. Continue now.
With regards permission. I understand, Madam, from both yourself and your witnesses, your daughter Bolsi and your former Executive Secretary Catalino Macaraeg, that you were the one who called their attention to the column which is now the subject of this litigation, sometime at about 8:30 or thereabouts in the morning of October 12, 1987. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
How did you get hold of your copy at that particular time?
Well, every day, sir, I receive about 8 copies of the different newspapers published here in Metro Manila.
And nobody called your attention to it, in other words. You yourself found the column and read it.
Yes, sir.
You said that you were a regular reader of Mr. Beltran's column before August 28. How about thereafter?
I am not a regular reader anymore of the columns of Mr. Luis Beltran, sir.
Perhaps after October 12, but in between August 29 and October 12, when the allegedly offending column was published, did you continue to read him regularly?
Yes, I could say that. I cannot say that I read every single column, but if you mean by regular, reading it quite often, then I guess I could say